So Apple just released a brand new application called Final Cut Camera. And this application is free to download for anyone with an iPhone or iOS device. When you download it, it's going to unlock some new features that will allow you to get the most out of your video camera. So this is ideally suited for those of you looking for more professional results with your video, as you'll get access to a whole range of features that you don't see on the standard camera app. So let's open it up and take a look at the application one feature at a time. The first thing you'll notice is that the user interface is quite similar to the camera app, with the addition of some UI elements overlaid on top of the grid, as well as a new menu at the very top of the screen. So let's start by going through the top left menu item for multicam access. So this is a brand new feature and useful for those of you that have Final Cut Pro for the iPad. To get access to that application, it is paid. It comes in at around $7 or $8 per month, I believe, or $59 per year, depending on where you're located. So if you do want to use Final Cut for the iPad and get access to this multicam feature, there is a paid component to it. And of course, you also get the added benefit of having a best-in-class video editor right there on your iPad. So that might be something to consider. On the top of the screen, if you tap on this section, you can see all the different modes of video available. The first option tells you which codec you're using. The second option allows you to select between HDR and SDR recording. HDR is for high dynamic range, which will give you a more even exposure. In the third menu item, you can select your video resolution. In the fourth dropdown, you can select your frame rate from 24 FPS, 25, 30, or 60 frames per second. If we tap on the Cog Wheel icon on the right-hand side, we get access to more settings, including being able to see our codec, the resolution, and HDR setting, which was available in the top of the screen as well. You can also change those here. But below that, you can turn on stabilization for image stabilization when you're moving around with your iPhone. And you can also opt to mirror the front camera. In the Tools tab, you can turn on Grid Overlay, and you can choose between full screen or the aspect ratio of square or 4:3 format for the grid overlay. Just below that, we have the Overexposure indicator, which is useful for showing blown out highlights. Now, as you can see, I'm pointing towards a window, and the overexposed light coming from the exterior of the building is showing up as clipping. So if we want to adjust that, we can go and make adjustments, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. And you can also tap on focus peaking, and this is very useful, especially when you're in manual focus mode, so that you can see highlighted in green what is actually in focus when you're trying to dial in and accurately get a shot in focus. And the final option in your settings section is audio. If you have multiple sources selected, you can toggle between onboard iPhone audio and external sources. As you can see, mine is select to the Rode Wireless Pro, which is the audio source that I'm using for this particular recording. But if I wanted to change that at any time during the recording, I could just tap on it and change back to this device. And now we're recording the audio directly into the iPhone. So I'll just leave those settings on and we'll work our way down the interface. On the top left-hand side of the screen, just below that multicam icon that I showed you earlier, is a time indicator. And this will show you how much available recording time you have. I'm currently shooting on 4K, and it tells me that I have 1 hour and 11 minutes. If I tap on the resolution and change it to 1080p, we now have 4 hours and 31 minutes available of recording time. I'll just go back to 4K, which is my preferred format. On the right-hand side, you'll see there's an audio level indicator, and this will show you whether you're receiving an audio signal. And also, if it goes into orange and red, you can see that your audio is clipping. Let's work our way down the interface. So on the bottom left-hand corner, there is a magnifying glass icon. If we tap on that, we can use our finger moving left and right to zoom in and zoom out of a subject, and you should notice that it provides a very smooth zoom effect. So it's a really nice feature for creating dynamic zooms. Otherwise, you can tap back on the icon and you can choose the lenses manually from 13 millimeters to 26 or 52 close-up. Depending on which phone you have, these options may vary. To the right of the focal length box, you'll see an icon with an arrow. If you tap on that, it will reveal some more manual controls. The first one on the left is for white balance. You can use your finger and adjust the white balance manually, or you can tap on the right-hand side and choose from any of the pre-configured defaults from automatic to fix, daylight, shadow, cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent, and flash. The next icon along is the exposure, and this allows you to slide left and right to decrease or increase your exposure manually. Or if you tap on the auto button, you get access to the shutter speed and ISO settings. These are useful when you want to get a specific look with your video footage. For example, if you're shooting a low light interior, the iPhone will quite often use a high ISO in order to light up the scene. But when you're shooting with high ISO, you'll notice much more film grain. So if you tap on the ISO option, you can select a low ISO anywhere from 64 to say 100, and that will produce a much cleaner image. If you tap on the shutter option, you can change the shutter speed as well. And this will also change the amount of light coming in and will produce a different effect. So be careful when choosing this option, because if you select too slow a shutter speed, your footage can look a little bit strange. And conversely, if you go too high, it can also be a little bit jittery and not look as natural as it should be. So I tend to use the auto mode in most cases. If I am going to go into manual, I will go with 100 ISO and maybe choose anywhere from 1/60th to 1/100th shutter speed. The next option is focus. By default, your iPhone will be set to autofocus. So as you tap on screen, anything inside the yellow box will automatically appear in focus. And if you tap on the slider, you can manually adjust the focus, essentially creating a focus pull effect. How do you know if an object is in focus? Well, because we left that focus guide on earlier in the settings, you can actually see when those lights on the screen are in focus by observing the green highlight area. You can actually tell that a subject is in focus when the green area appears on that subject. So I've now manually adjusted the slider, and I can see that the green is appearing on those lights, which tells me that they're in focus. The next option is screen lock. So you can leave it to unlocked so that when you turn your phone around, it will automatically change perspective, or you can lock it into left horizontal, right horizontal, or portrait mode. As we work our way down, on the left-hand side, we can tap on that to see all of the footage that we've taken. By default, it won't save the footage into your camera roll. You'll need to tap on the second button along here and scroll down to save video. And it will then save that clip into your camera roll. Or if you want to share the video with someone, tap on the first icon and you can transfer it over to Final Cut Pro on your iPad, for example, or any other connected device. You have a play button to preview your footage. You have a volume icon to turn on and off the volume. And you can also click on the trash icon to delete your video clip if you no longer require it. Next up is the familiar record button. If you tap on that, your phone will go into record mode, and you can see an indicator at the top that tells you how many seconds have been recorded. Tap on it again to stop recording. And we also have a selfie mode option on the right-hand side. If you tap on that, your phone will use the front-facing camera for selfie mode.